All right, what's in a name? Rational number system. Learning goals. Classify numbers according to their number systems. Apply and extend an understanding of whole numbers and integers to the system of rational numbers. Understand ordering of rational numbers. Okay. Our key terms are integers, ellipsis, rational numbers, and density property. Down here it says you may use many different types of numbers in math class and in the world, including whole numbers, fractions, and decimals, both positive and negative. How can you organize and classify different types of numbers? So the warm-up here, as you represent each decimal or percent as a fraction in lowest terms. So if I say this 3/10, 3/10, 3/10, I would write the fraction. This would be 2 8/10, which I could rewrite as 28/10, which I could simplify down to 14/5. And that's as simple as I could make this fraction. This is 3/4 of a percent, so it's less than 1%. And so if I'm looking at this, that means it would be, let's see here, it would be 3 out of 400. Because 1%, it'd be 1 out of 100. And this is less than that. And so this is 3 out of 400. This next one would be the same as 212 over 100, which I can divide by 2 to get 106 over 50, which I can divide by 2 to get 53 over 25. And that is as simple as I can make that. I can change between a fraction, a decimal, and a percent, and this is kind of practicing that with some tough problems. All right, here are the cards that are at the end of the lesson, and so I'm going to just kind of sort them out over here as best as I can here. So there's different ways I could sort them, but I'm kind of looking for patterns I can kind of see. Let's see here. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Percent on it. It's a fraction, but it's a positive fraction. Here we got a whole number. Here we got another whole number. Here we've got another positive fraction, negative fraction, negative whole number, another percent, that 3/4 of a percent, which is 3 out of 400. Mixed number. We have a negative decimal, number and its opposite. We have 0. We have a negative decimal. We have an absolute value. We have the opposite of -9, which will be a positive number. with the absolute value of 6 and 41 hundredths, which is 6 and 41 hundredths away. We have negative 6 and 41 hundredths. We have the absolute value of a fraction. We have another percentage. We have another percentage. This is 1/4 of a percent. This is 3/4 of a percent. So this would be 1 out of 400. This would be 3 out of 400. Okay. Then we have this one, and then we have another mixed number. Where's my mixed number here? All right. That's a lot of numbers. Let's see how I can group them. So I'm going to put these percentages together first because they're all percentages. And what was interesting is they all kind of dealt with, here's 1/4 of a percent, 3/4 of a percent, 2.5%, 25%, and 225%. So from least to greatest for my percents. All right. Then I'm looking here and I see I have positive whole numbers. So I'm going to put 9 and 25 together. I have negative decimals. And so I'm going to put those together. I have positive decimals. I have I have 1/2 and I have 6/7, and so those are fractions that are positive fractions. I have negative 6/7, negative 1/2, negative 2/3. So I'll put those together since those are negative fractions. I have negative 3 and negative 452. I'll put those together because those are negative numbers. I'll put 6 and 1/4 together with 2 and 15/16 because those are positive mixed numbers. I will put these together because they all deal with the absolute value. And then I'm kind of left with this, the opposite of negative 9, which would be positive 9. I could almost put this with my whole numbers. I have this fraction, 1/1000, that goes there. And then 0 doesn't quite fit for me in any of those. And so that'd be kind of separate. Okay? And so I think this is how I might sort them. There's a whole bunch of different ways to sort these numbers. It would be cool for you to cut these out now and to sort them how you think they should actually go. All right, so from our number sort, we have activity 3.1, analyzing number sorts, which is why I took the time to cut those out and try to put them into groups. And I could put them in a bunch of different groups. In fact, Susan grouped these numbers together. Why do you think she put these numbers in the same group? Let me take a look here. We have, let's see here, 0, negative 452, 9, 24, the absolute value of negative 3, the opposite of negative 9, which is positive 9, the absolute value of negative 452, which is 452. Well, I noticed that there are no fractions here, and there are no decimals here. In fact, they are all whole numbers. I don't know if that's exactly right. I think the word I need to use here is they're integers. I'm going to cross that out actually. And I think they're integers because there's positive and negative numbers there. Okay. 2, 1 second. All right. So I would say that she put all the integers together. So numbers that don't have fractions, there are no decimals, there's positive and negative numbers. And so that would be integers. So Zane had a group similar to Suzanne's, but he did not include negative 452 and negative 3. Why do you think Zane omitted these numbers from his group? Well, let's look at the other ones. So if we take out this one and we take out the negative 3, 0, 9, 24, the absolute value of negative 3 would be 3. The opposite of negative 9 is 9. The absolute value of negative 452 is 452. Well, the other values would all be positive. The other values would not equal negative numbers. It would be 0, 9, 24, 3, 9, or 452. So those are the only ones that would be negative. And so he took out the ones that were negative. Amelia said that she created 2 groups. Group 1 contains all the numbers that can be written as fractions, and group 2 contains all the numbers that cannot be written as fractions. Analyze Amelia's sorting idea. Which numbers do you think Amelia placed in group 2? I think she probably put in 0 and negative 452 and 24 and 9 and negative 3 and the absolute value of negative 3 and the opposite of negative 9 and the absolute value of negative 452. Okay. Justine is not sure about Amelia's sort. She thinks that all of the numbers can be written as fractions. Is Justine correct? Explain why or why not. Ooh, I think that Justine is correct. I could write any of the above numbers as a fraction by putting it over 1. Okay. All right. So you have used different sets of numbers, including the set of natural or counting numbers and the set of whole numbers. Identify the numbers from the sort that are in each set. The natural numbers would be 24, 9, the absolute value of negative 3, the opposite of negative 9, the absolute value of negative 452. Whole numbers would be 0, 24, 9, the absolute value of negative 3, the opposite of negative 9, which is 9, the absolute value of negative 452. What's different between those two sets? Do you see it? Do you see it? Whole numbers included the 0. Natural numbers do not include the 0. Throughout this topic, you have been learning about the set of integers, which I got mixed up on at the first question with the question at first. Integers are the set of whole numbers with their opposites. The integers can be represented by the set of all negative and positive numbers. Identify the numbers from the sort that are included in the set of integers. Okay. So we would have negative 452, negative 3, 0, 24, 9, the opposite of negative 3, the opposite of negative 9. I'm sorry, the absolute value of negative 3, the opposite of negative 9, which is positive 9, and the absolute value of negative 452, which is 452. Okay, so this one includes just positive whole numbers, or just positive numbers that are not fractions or decimals. The whole numbers includes all of the positive numbers that are not decimals or fractions and 0. Integers include negative and positive whole numbers, or numbers that are not fractions or decimals, including 0. You've also worked with rational numbers throughout this year. Rational numbers are the set of numbers that can be written as a over b, where a and b are integers and b does not equal 0. Identify the numbers from the sort that are included in the set of rational numbers. Well, all of the numbers that we looked at are rational. Okay, so even the decimals and fractions are rational numbers. Integers are not fractions or decimals, but they're positive and negative, including 0. Whole numbers are it's 0 and all positive numbers that are not fractions and decimals. And then natural numbers are all positive numbers that are not fractions or decimals but not 0. Okay, so I have to kind of work with these here. Notice the 3 periods before and after specific numbers in the set. These 3 periods are called an ellipsis, right here. And they are used to represent infinity in a number set. That means it goes on forever and ever. Okay? And so that was lesson 3.1 plus the intro.